the marketing experience, the operations experience. If you understand the 360 of the business, no matter where you started, if you're in finance, and you're like, oh, I would love to do social media, finance is so boring, you can make that change, if you can understand the business in general. Because I think social media amasses the rest of the business. It is really not a channel. It is how the business reflects socially through these channels. So it really understanding that anybody can do social media if you get the strategy of the business.
Yeah, definitely agree. Now, of course, you've actually done a lot of speaking over recently. Like I've seen that you've spoken at I forgot, at a conference in Atlanta. I forgot the name of it. I think it's the Social Media Show Me conference.
Yeah, the Social Strategy Summit in Chicago and San Francisco. It's the Social Tools Summit in San Jose. Oh gosh, it's been so many. I've done a lot of conferences this year. It's been really great this year, yeah.
And also in Australia too, which is really awesome. So
that's right.
So basically, did you see yourself as a speaker?
Not at all. When I first got called for the first conference that I did, they asked me, obviously, the brand Microsoft, everybody wants to know, who's doing what at Microsoft? How do they do that? And so I called my boss and I said, look, I got invited to this thing. I want to make sure that I'm clearing this up. I'm going to tell them the truth. And the truth is that we don't have it all figured out. If they ask me questions, I'm going to tell them we started red and we're working to get to green and there's gaps in places. That's the reality. So my boss was so wonderful. He's like, absolutely, go tell them. And I think that's what's struck a note with people is, it was a sigh of relief because they're like, oh, if Microsoft hasn't figured it out yet, we're okay, And so I think that message of transparency as a brand really sunk in with the audiences, and that just kicked off more and more conferences after that. It was just like my calendar was booked for the rest of the year, so that was really fun.
All right, now I gotta get more into this because it's really awesome to see that Microsoft allowed you to shine as an employee.
Yes.
Now, why do you think many businesses are not allowing their employees to shine per se in their roles? Because it seems to me like it seems as if they're putting people in departments that they're not very well versed in.
Yeah. I think they don't companies, organizations that don't do that don't really allow their, they don't have that employee advocacy or don't allow their employees to kind of go off on their own and speak of the brand. I think it's a shame because they probably are scared to give that power to the employees. And what they don't understand is that in today's world, most people don't really listen to brands as a brand. They listen to people of the brand. And that's why you and I are having this conversation right now, because people want to know what's Miri from Microsoft doing, not what Microsoft is doing, right? And so if they understood that concept, that they said, let's empower our people and let them talk about the brand, because we already are. We talk about everything. We talk about brands. We talk about what we like, what we don't like. And so if we just empower them and guide them, they would see an incredible result, a return on their investment on that, because we become fans. I'm a fan of Microsoft. I love Microsoft sincerely. And so I project that passion to other people. People are like, oh, I didn't know people from I've heard before, I didn't know Microsoft people were fun. I'm like, well, where did you think we were? I'm fun. So we represent the brand and we give people the realness of the brand. And so I think brands now need to really focus on that and employee advocacy and employee empowerment to really go out there and do their thing. Microsoft is well known for that. We do get empowered, and that's the motto, right? Empowering people everywhere to do more. So we do more. We do everything that we can aside from our day-to-day jobs. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, of course, I gotta ask about this because you actually took part in one of the largest launches for Microsoft of a product launch early, this year. So Can you share with us how did you, what was the strategy behind the successful launch of that product? It was over a $1 billion launch per
Yeah,
se.
so you're referring to obviously Windows 10, which
Yeah.
was our biggest launch since Windows 95, and it was very positively received by the audiences worldwide. It was great expectations, and people were just so excited to get it, to hear it. We had done a lot of work around, hearing from customers what did they want to see next. So a lot of research on that, and we delivered that with many things, including Cortana, which was so much fun. The strategy was for social specifically. Funny enough, I was in the time I was in Latam, and I was actually in Colombia for the launch, and so we were all excited and hoping, that people were just, so excited like us, and they were. And so one of the things that we did not expect is the volume, the amount of inquiries and questions and comments that we got during Windows 10. I mean, we basically broke the internet. It was insane. It was we could not expect it. I was for Spanish only, just to give you an idea, we were on a busy day maybe getting around 500 posts, if that, and they won't even go to that. And we got 8,000 one day.
Wow.
On launch day. Yeah. Wow. So the strategy was all hands on deck, and just get work done. And we actually, what we did was we partnered up with our partners, HP, Dell. They came to the rescue. They were great in actually resounding the message. For example, there was Cortana. One of the things that people were eager was like, where's my upgrade? I signed up for it months ago in summer. Where is it? And so what they didn't know is that we were rolling it out in waves. And the reason for that is we could not overload the networks. So we wanted to make sure that they were done in waves. So people were excited and then weren't getting their upgrades. And so they were asking us where it is. And so we were able to immediately put a plan on proactive posting, letting them know that, the launch had started in waves, and to expect it in certain amount of time. And our HP partners and our Dell partners did the same. So they were actually helping us post things online to guide our customers. We also had marketing. So we had CSS, which is our delivery side, and then marketing on the other side, reposting stuff on all of the networks, on Facebook and Twitter. So it was really the biggest group collaboration that I've ever seen, because it was that big. So it had to be that big. And I think we came together nicely. And that was one of the things that I spoke about in my first conference. It was how red we were. We just didn't know what to do. It was like, man, we broke the internet. What do we do? And that crisis, if you will, that positive crisis, helped us bring together teams that needed to come together for social. One thing that I learned was a lot of teams in corporations have different strategies for social. You talk to sales and they think about social media differently than marketing, and customer experience thinks of it differently too. So when you bring those people in one room, you're able to have these real smart conversations and find out what are they thinking about social? How do they think about social? So we did that because Windows 10 did that for us, and now it works great.
Awesome. Now, speaking of that, which is a great transition, I'm going to read a quote that you talked about in it was, I think it was a webinar that you did.
Okay.
Called "Don't Be a Social Watermelon," and this is a really interesting quote that you said. You said your customers are looking for response time of 30 minutes or less. Mm-hmm. So that's really interesting. Can you share with us, why that's the case?
Absolutely. So one of the things that as a social media manager, or if you're in social media, you need to always be looking for trends. Customers drive trends. They tell us where they're going. They talk about it openly on social channels, and we know what they want because they talk about it. So one of the things that you're always looking for is, what are the customers' expectations for social media for corporations, big and small? Do they expect you to respond in 24 hours? Do they expect you to respond in an hour? And I follow those very closely. And by the time I actually had done the deck for that presentation in April, it had changed from 56% of customers wanting to be answered in an hour or less to actually half hour. So we're looking at time frame, and that that's really because we are a very connected generation. We have the attention, span of less than a goldfish. I guess, I don't know, plankton would be. I don't know what it is, but it's way less than 9 seconds or whatever that is. And so it really is. We're constantly strolling, we're constantly clicking, and we do expect, as customers expect to be answered right away, especially on social channels from brands. So at that point, it was, it's a half hour or less. I actually think that it may be even less now, honestly, or even an increased amount of audiences that want, customers to corporations to engage in real time. And that's because of also live streaming, right? So right now we're doing that. People are no longer, a picture is already the past. I want to see it live. I want to see it right now. Snapchat did that. Twitter Moments did that. So everything kind of has become more fast-paced into what it really is right now, and that drives the customer to really want a faster response. So that's the first thing. The second one, when I talk about don't be a social media watermelon, that's because at Microsoft we have metrics. We're driven by metrics on everything, and one of our biggest metrics that everyone at Microsoft has is what we call the CPE metrics, and that's basically stands for customer partner experience. So everything that we do, we measure against how are we delivering that customer and that partner experience at Microsoft, everything that we do. And that is our number one metric. So if you're red on that, you're probably not getting a bonus. We actually talk about the watermelon effect sometimes when we look at things, look at trends, or look at metrics, and we're green outside, like the watermelon. And then when you cut it open, it's actually bright red, right? So we're like, hey, don't be a watermelon. Don't appear to be green to your customers when in reality you're not. The internal teams have to work together. The internal communications have to be on point. The teams, as I was saying, socially, those teams that are involved in social media, in reality, the entire company is involved in social media. So if your CEO doesn't know what's happening, if your vice president doesn't know what's happening, if they're treating social media as just another channel, time to get them on a round table and really get them to understand the digital transformation that social media is today.
Yeah, definitely agree 100% with that there.